Hello, my name is Monique and I'm the lead admin of Parental Alienation Canada. We have a very special episode of our Zoom call today. We are meeting and greeting and doing a reading with our children's books authors on parental alienation. And I think these books are really undervalued as resources to understand children as far as they feel. Usually when we talk about divorce and separation, we focus quite heavily on the parents and their emotions, but I think that children are often overlooked. And I think these books provide a lot of insight into how children experience a case of where they are being used as weapons in a separation or a divorce. So I'm going to show you the admin. I'm just going to share my screen here to show you the PAC group. So this is a Canadian support group for, let's see, for parental alienation. And it's about 1.5 years old. And we just, we're focused on education and support for parental alienation in Canada. So, and we do take foreign nationals that have children in Canada, but we try to focus mostly on Canada. Our events are open to worldwide or to anybody that would like to attend. But our actual support group is Canadian, and we do have other social media for advocacy and spreading awareness, and as our Instagram. So that's it. That's our Parental Alienation Canada group. If you're Canadian, please do apply. All right. So I'm just going to ask both of our authors. First of all, can you both just give us introduce yourselves? So Justine, do you want to go first and just give us like your elevator speech about who you are and how you got involved in parental alienation?
Sure. Thank you, Monique. I'm Justine La Clair. I live in Georgia in the United States. And my brother and I are survivors, or warriors, I call us, of parental alienation. It was a scenario where we didn't see our father for over 10 years. And when we caught up with him, he died of leukemia. So we actually grieved him twice. The books that I've written are unisex, so that it can relate to any kind of family. There's fair housing laws for real estate. My husband's a realtor. So a family could be anything at all. And so because of that, I made unisex characters. And I hope that will help the children relate to the book. And I've gotten some good feedback already. I had a mother say, oh, they're twins, like me and my brother. And it was only, the child was 3 years old and got it. That's pretty cool.
Awesome. Despina, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, definitely. Thank you also, Monique, for this opportunity. My name is Despina. I'm from Athens, Greece. I am a mediator in Greece and the author of the book, Mom, Dad, Can You Hear Me? The book is about divorce, and actually it explains a little bit my personal story, and it tries to explain to the parents how important it is for the kid to have both of them in his or her life.
Okay, thank you so much. So my first question is, do you want to tell us a little more about your background and experience you have with parental alienation?
Yes. Sorry, yes, of course.
Both
Actually,
of you.
Okay. Justine? Do
you want to go first, Justine, and then you can just talk a little bit more in depth about because parental alienation, the dramatic effect it has on childhood development and the impact and the trauma that it has for your entire life. So how did you get motivated to write a book, both of you? Justine, you want to go first?
If that's okay, Despina, thank you so much. I'm actually writing a book right now, and it's called False Face. And this basically was who I have been until 2016 when I had a panic attack and I realized I needed help. So I'm writing that book, but it's more on a teenage level. The books that are finished are these ones here. This is the one, Our Family Broke, and that goes right into parental alienation. You can see other parent in the background crying while the one parent is stealing the two children away. And then a lot of children don't understand. They become very angry at the parent that was alienated. And so this book goes right into that and will help children understand that the alienated parent has feelings. So my story was we were a family of 4, and there's a little picture of us when we were growing up. And it seemed like everything was fine. I mean, once in a while you'd have an outburst or, something like that, but dogs and cats do that too. So I didn't think a whole lot about it as a child. But when I was 11, my dad came over to me and he grabbed both of my wrists and he sat down at the table and he started to cry. Now, this is a man who was very strong, very tough, helped everybody, had a lot of empathy for other people. One of his best friends was a quadriplegic who he would lift and carry and bring into the kitchen and give him food, lift, carry, and bring him to the couch and play music for him and different things like that. So we're talking about a person with a lot of empathy in their heart. And he was a tortured musician. Financially, he couldn't afford a family, basically. So he's crying, and while he's crying and saying, "Don't leave me," my mother grabs my hand, and I didn't realize this till this year, because his hand was like this. When she pulled my other hand, it slipped out. So I never made the choice of who was I going to go with. When you're grabbed by a hand, you get pulled. It pulled out of my dad's hands. And for years, I thought I had made that decision. Come to find out, I had my husband actually draw. I put his hand on my wrist and I drew the outline of his hand. And then I thought, okay, if he was holding me like that and she grabbed my hand, I didn't make the decision. And that was a really important breaking point for me. And I just found this out like a month ago. So it's like a very new. I didn't, in Despina, Greece, we didn't even know there was a term coined, parental alienation. So we moved 4 hours away. My dad did come up to see us one time. My mother gave him a horrible time. She actually gave us a schedule of what we were to do and when we were to do it. So he came up on a Saturday afternoon and he left Sunday afternoon. Very short visit. And after that, it was just, he wanted to call. My grandmother, his mom, would say, he wants to call you, but then he'd have to speak to her, meaning my mother. And she would take the phone and hang up. So it was not an opportunity for my brother and I to establish a relationship that we needed with this parent. Now, he was not a saint, but no parents are and nobody is. But he was someone.
Despina, I do want to let Despina answer too, so I'll just ask her now. Despina, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience?
Yes, Justine, it was very strong what you shared. Actually, in my case, my parents took a divorce when I was almost 10 years old. And even though they take a common consent divorce, actually they start fighting, they continue fighting after the divorce. And I was in the middle of their fights. So they were using me as a weapon, especially from my mom's side, to hurt each other. And every time I was going out with my dad, after I was coming back home, she was asking me where we went, what we did, what did you say, why you didn't say what I asked you to say, and all these things. And because this went on and on for many years, at some point I decided that, okay, I will not see my dad anymore. And I was feeling for many years that this was my decision, and I was feeling guilty for that, because actually I didn't see my dad for almost 20 years. And it took me many years of therapy to understand how I was manipulated and how actually this was not my decision. It was just a way to survive because I couldn't handle the situation anymore. Actually, I was feeling more the adult and that they were the kids and I was in the middle. And so I reunited with my dad 3 years ago when I realized that actually I want to have a relationship with my dad, because from my mom's family, I was feeling that he is the bad guy. He abandoned us for another woman, and I have to protect my mom. And I was feeling for many years I have this. This position. I was feeling like I have to protect my mom, and she's the victim in this situation. So the reason I also wrote the book, The Mom, Dad, Can You Hear Me, is because I wanted to show to the parents that kids need both parents. In mediation, many times I hear parents stating that, oh, my kids don't need their mom, or my kids don't need their dad. And I cannot explain them how wrong this is, what they are saying. Because actually, when a kid says that, many times he actually tries to satisfy one of the parents. And that's why I wrote a story from the kid's perspective, to make them understand that the kid needs both of them.
So that's kind of a segue to my next question about why do you think kids' books are important? So Justine, do you want to comment on that, about why kids' books are important?
Yeah, definitely. This is not the book that the alienating parent is going to want. The parent that is being alienated is going to want the books that I write. And then they can read the books and explain to the children, this is what's happening. See this family? And then at the end of the book, it has questions like, do you feel loved? Do you get to see both your mom and dad or both parents? Does your heart hurt? Do you have a safe grown-up you can talk to? And sometimes children don't want to answer questions. So there is a page where they can actually draw a picture of how they feel. And I did that because I would have wanted this book. But as I got more involved in what parental alienation was, the next book that came out was a coloring book with the same characters on it, with little mazes and recipes and different things like that. They can go to the alienating parent's house, who has no idea if there's a whole story going on at the parent that's being alienated. And so this book will remind the children that the alienated parent loves them. And in the meantime, it just looks like a kid's activity book. And then interviewing different parents, that's where the Popper's 10 years came up, and finding out, how do you let children know that the parent is actually being abused as well? Because children really don't want any parent to be abused, but like Despina said correctly, you feel like you have to protect a parent. Well, that's parentalization, I think it's called, parentalization.
Mhm.
And that's not a good spot to be in when you're a kid. The
No.
last book that I have is actually a journal, and it's about 15 months, but it's a month at a glance, year at a glance, that kind of thing. It has a place to journal, to do your budget, to have your phone calls, notes, things like that. But it also, for each month, has something like, try this idea and then check it off. Because what happens is days, months, years slip by. But if you use the journal, you'll know, let me try this for this month. And even if it doesn't work, send a postcard, check. Even if it doesn't work, you get no response, you get a negative response. You never give up on the children. You just don't. So,
That's amazing. I love that. This, like the reason why I did this is because I feel like this is all really underappreciated. And like, I think the work that you ladies are doing for children's development and support is amazing. And it's really underappreciated. So thank you. Do you want to comment on why children's books are important? Do you want to say more, Despina?
Yes, actually, I agree with Justine. I just want to say also that when a kid reads this kind of books, understands a little bit his situation, maybe, because when you are in this situation, you're feeling confused, especially as a child, when you don't understand exactly what happens. And if you are also a little bit manipulated, you are feeling more confused. You don't have your own opinion. So I think that this book can help the children understand that also this is something that has happened also to other children, and can give them maybe ideas of how they feel, because sometimes they are not able also to identify their own feelings. For example, in my book, when some kid, I mean the parents of the kids, that they gave the book to the kids, they told me that the kid liked the fact that the protagonist of the story, who is a 10 years old girl, found a solution and helped her parents understand what she really needs from them. Because actually, in my book, in the end, I have put a list of the things that I wanted to say to my parents about co-parenting. Things like, for example, I want you to have similar rules in both houses. I don't want you to accuse each other in front of me or to say bad things to each other. Actually, this is a list that maybe a kid, for example, that reads the book, it's something that he also wants, or she also wants to communicate to her parents, these messages.
Yes. I know that I've heard from several therapists or professionals about parental alienation, that usually children that have been alienated, they have no sense of themselves because their own feelings have been denied by the alienating parent. It's coercive control. And so the child will become, as they grow up and develop, they're underdeveloped in their own sense of self and their own entitlement to their own feelings. They don't feel like they feel guilty for having any sense of themselves or being entitled to have their own feeling, right? So, and it takes time. And so I think these books are a great resource for kids. As I like that idea about the coloring book in the story that the alienating parent can't see. They can bring the coloring book and remember the story, and they can keep that. They have that boundary within the coloring book, and they can just color at the alienating parents. And there's a boundary there from the alienating parent. I love that. Yes. The next question I have is, why do you think kids' books are underrated on the subject? Like it's hard to get interest in it, and it's often like dismissed. I mean, I think it has to do, like I noticed on my own parental alienation, like the parents are very concerned about their and I understand it's justifiable. The alienating parent is under a lot of stress with legal issues. There's a lot of false accusations, and it's so overwhelming to be attacked as the alienating parent. And so I've been trying to get them to see the value in this, and I think I will over time. It's just a matter of they're just very traumatized, and it's hard to talk to a traumatized person. But can you comment on why books on parental alienation for kids are usually undervalued? So Justine, you want to go first?
I've never actually seen a book specifically on parental alienation. I've seen them on divorce, and I wrote something that I would have needed at the age of 11. And if it was in my school library, or if I was in therapy, or if my alienated parent had this book and read it to me, like, I would understand. But that didn't happen that way. And what did happen was a lot of repression, just forcing all your feelings down. I explained to Despina that after my panic attack, I realized something's really wrong. And I have just had my 26th surgery 3 weeks ago. And it's included brain tumors, spinal surgeries, organs being taken out, tumors being removed. and it's led to on the DSM-5 PTSD, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, agoraphobia. So it's not like you're out of the situation as an adult. It's living within you constantly.
Okay. Despina, do you want to comment on why kids' books are underrated or not valued?
Yes, I think that actually the parents are afraid of the reaction of the kids. Because actually when you write a book about divorce or parental alienation, because mine is more related to co-parenting and the importance of having both parents in his life, in the kid's life, I understand from the reactions of the parents that I need to convince the parents and not the kids. The kids maybe would have take it more easier and they will read it, but the parents are those that are afraid. For example, I had parents that they say, "Oh, this is very hard for my child." But I know that the things that I wrote are things that I was thinking when I was 10. So even if it's hard, it's something that your child thinks about it. And I know that because I went through that. But I know that I can't convince the parent because, you know, he or she has already his idea in his mind. And if he is afraid, he's afraid. There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, I think the target parent and the alienating parent have different types of fears, but I think the alienating parent has some sort of issue where they are abusive. And so I don't know if we're anywhere at a near state where we could start diagnosing that or how to convince them. But for a target parent, what are they afraid of? What do you think they are afraid of?
No, the target parent doesn't have the possibility to give the book.
Well, no, but they can read it to understand the children sometimes.
Yes, they can read it, but can they buy it and give it to their kids?
And sometimes they can. It depends on the situation.
Okay, in this case, I think that, no, I believe that a parent that can understand a book like that, he will give it to, I was talking more for the parents that they are doing the alienation. For example, when my mom wrote the book that I wrote, she didn't like it because she said that I'm putting her and my dad at the same level.
I see. So she believes she's the victim and he's the perpetrator.
Yes, and
But
I
in your
didn't
mind,
present the facts correctly.
yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And so I asked if so you guys, so you've written other books. I was going to ask if you wrote other books. So Justine, you wrote other books, and Despina this is your one book on parental alienation?
One book, and I have created. It's about actually it's about co-parenting, yes, and the importance of co-parenting. And I have also created a diary for the kids to be able to express themselves and their thoughts and the things that they don't want to share with their parents.
Okay, and so the diary, I can see the books behind you, the mom, dad. I can see them behind you, and then the diary there. And the diary, does it have questions or does it have is it for the kids?
No, they can. It has some things. It's I mean I can show you the interior, but it's anybody can see it also in Amazon. It speaks about. It has a space where the people can write. The kids can write about their feelings and how they feel and the thoughts that they have, and if they want to share, it has a questions if they want to share their thoughts with someone.
Okay. So I guess we can move on to the readings now. Justine says that she can read Despina's book too, because as Despina's first language is Greek. So Justine has agreed to read a bit from both books, if that's okay with Justine.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Justine.
So you picked excerpts from both books that you want to read, that you decided on, Justine?
Yes, I'd like to start with Despina's book. I was very impressed with it. And she has me just mark a few pages there. So I'd like to read that one, if that's okay with you, Despina.
Yes, if it's too long, we can short it. I mean, I didn't know how much we will read for how long. So if it's too much, we can you can read less than that.
Yeah. Okay, Justine, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just want to mention Despina's book is so well written. It's a Dear Diary style, where my books are more like from the ages of like 3 to 10, the little kids that like the coloring and all that. So I think we've got all the bases covered here between the two of us. It says Friday, November 27th, 2019. My dearest diary, I'm feeling so sad today. Yesterday, Mom told me I have to stop my ballet lessons because Dad can't afford to pay for them. She also told me that he spends all his money on his girlfriend, which I felt was a strange thing for him to say. I couldn't figure out who this girlfriend was, but I got really sad. How can Dad do such a thing? He knows how much I love ballet. Then Mom passed the buck to me and asked me to ask Dad for money for ballet lessons. Just the thought of having to ask him that made me freeze. I don't feel well, not at all. I feel so confused. I don't want to ask Dad for money. It feels so wrong to do so. But then again, if I don't do it, I will completely disappoint Mom. Today, Dad again came by again to take me for a walk. I didn't enjoy playing with him or having lunch. I didn't enjoy anything at all. The idea of asking for money gripped me with fear. I don't know why. I just didn't want to do it. But I also didn't want to disappoint Mom. And so I did it. Dad looked at me in a very strange way. Then he passed the buck back to me and told me to tell Mom to call him. And the next time she wanted money, she should ask for it herself and shouldn't put me in the middle. This situation reminded me of the game tug of war that we played at school during gym class. On the one side, there's Dad. On the other side, there's Mom. And they pull me like a rope to see which side will cross the line first. But I am the rope, and the rope belongs to both sides. This is what they don't understand. Maybe I have to choose between them to put an end to the whole situation. I don't want to do that, though. I love them both just the way they are. I have so much fun with Dad. He makes me laugh. He spoils me with treats, helps me with my homework without yelling at me, sings to me, lets me paint, and secretly buys me chocolates. On the other side, Mom is always so nice to me, even though sometimes she acts like a teacher. Every time we go out together, I have a great time. I feel like a grown-up girl. She takes me shopping. She buys me books. She comes to parties with me and my friends. And she even takes me to the theater. Oh no, I can't lose either of them, Irene wrote and tucked the diary into her bag. So well written, Despina.
It's excellent.
Thank you.
When Irene got home, the first thing her mom asked her was whether she and her dad about the ballet money. Yes, I asked him, Irene replied curtly. What did he say to you? Her mom asked sharply. That the two of you have to talk, replied the little one. She was so sick and tired of being in the middle and playing Chinese whispers for both of her parents. She heard her mom muttering through clenched teeth, of course he doesn't have the guts to tell his daughter what he tells me, or something like that, but Irene couldn't quite make it out. She wasn't in the mood to answer back to her mom anymore. She felt so upset by her dad's unwillingness to give her ballet money and her mom's rudeness to her dad. Here's a picture that Despina has for this portion of the story. Picture's worth 1,000 words. All right, then she moves here. How come Dad doesn't want to pay for my ballet lessons? Maybe I should quit ballet. I'm not very good. I'm not doing very well, and I don't have many friends there. Well, maybe I don't love it as much as I thought I did. in the beginning, and maybe it would be better if I quit. Maybe then my parents would stop arguing. How does that sound to you, teddy bear? In Despina's book, there's a little teddy bear that Irene holds on to throughout. After a while, little Irene's mom came into her room, gave her a big hug, and told her that she shouldn't be upset. Eventually, Irene decided to quit ballet on her own. What mattered more to her than anything else in the world was to put an end to her parents' fighting. Page 27. Monday, November 30th. My dearest diary. This morning, someone, I don't know who, visited us and gave Mom some papers to sign. After that, Mom started crying again and yelled something like, "So he wants a divorce now? Oh, sure, he wants a new life now." What was that all about? Why did Dad send all these papers? What's going on with him lately? Doesn't he love Mom anymore? Did quitting ballet not make a difference? Clearly not, as they're arguing again. They're arguing about everything, because Dad was late to pick me up, because he didn't bring me back home on time, because he didn't pay my school tuition on time, because my clothes got dirty again, because I ate ice cream in the middle of the winter, and so on. It seems like I'm the thing that's causing all the trouble. What if I disappeared? Would my parents stop fighting then? Irene wrote in her diary and started getting ready for bed. Dad to come and pick her up. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Irene wrote in her diary and started getting ready for her dad to come pick her up. Thank you. While she was getting ready, her mom came into her room and told her that they would visit Grandma instead. Irene asked Mom why the plans had changed all of a sudden, and for the first time, her mom abruptly said, "Because I say so, and it's nothing to do with ballet. Hurry up, we're going." Little Irene got so frustrated by her mother's bluntness that in her last-minute panic to hurry up, she forgot her teddy bear. "Oh, Mom, wait. I must get my teddy bear, please," said the little one, ready to burst into tears. "Irene, we need to go now," her mother replied. "Please, it'll only take a couple of minutes," begged Irene. "I said no, full stop," her mother shouted and shut the door behind them. Irene couldn't stop crying all the way to Grandma's. She felt painfully lonely. She had never been apart from her teddy bear. "Oh, come on, you're going to see Teddy Bear tonight. Don't be such a baby," her mother shouted while driving. And there's the illustration for that. As soon as they arrived at Grandma's, Irene quickly crawled into the bedroom. She was so furious by her mother's behavior that she grabbed her diary and started writing. "All these things happening today really got on my nerves. It was Dad's turn to come and pick me up today, but Mom brought me to Grandma's instead. She didn't even let me bring my teddy bear. It's the first time that Mom has yelled at me this badly. I'm sick and tired of seeing her being sad all the time." All of a sudden, her grandma came in. Irene stopped writing and hid her diary under the pillow. "What are you hiding there, sweetie?" asked Grandma, even though she'd got a glimpse of the diary. "Oh, I'm not hiding anything," answered Irene. "Are you sad that Mom and Dad are arguing?" Grandma asked and sat on the edge of the bed next to her. "I feel sad because I left my teddy bear alone back at home. Only poor teddy bear loves me, and Mom managed to kick him out too," yelled Irene. "Oh, I see. Aren't you sad about Mom and Dad?" Irene didn't answer back. She just shrugged her shoulders as if she didn't want to talk about it anymore. She felt so afraid that this was all her fault. As soon as Grandma left the room, she took out her diary again and continued writing until she drifted off to sleep. When Grandma came back in to give her a goodnight kiss, she noticed the diary wide open and her eyes are glued to an an extract from what Irene was writing. I don't have the slightest clue why all of this is happening to us. One thing I know for sure is that I love them both, and I don't want to see them fighting. The only dream I hold on to is to wake up one day and see them hugging one another again, and me snuggled up to them the tightest I can be. I can't imagine what this girlfriend of Dad is all about and why she's driven Mom completely mad. To me, the only thing that matters is that Mom and Dad put an end to all the fighting. Lately, I'm toying with an idea about how to help things get better, because I can't help thinking that they're fighting because of me. I'm thinking about not talking to them for a while to see if they'll stop arguing. I don't know whether my plan is going to work, but there's nothing else to lose. While Grandma was totally absorbed reading all this, somewhere tucked between the diary pages, a folded napkin slipped into her hands. It was a list drawn up by the little girl. Grandma quickly took the opportunity to take a peek and started to read. I'll talk to you again if you stop saying bad things to each other. Both of you are my parents. I love you both to the moon and back, and both of you are hurting me when you are saying all of these bad things to each other. If you stop arguing about money in front of me, I wish you shared the cost of things just like you split before. Hearing that you don't want to pay for the things I love hurts me. If you let me play with my friends whenever I wish, it's the only time I can stay calm and not feel like my heart is broken into pieces. If you stop putting me in the middle and stop telling me what to say to one another, it does no good to me. I need you two to be together just like you were before. Whatever you have to argue about, do it by yourselves. I don't want to know. You don't have to argue about me. If you stop saying that I take after the one or the other whenever I do something you don't like, I have my own personality, whatever that means to you. If you stop talking about me as if I were some kind of a must-have accessory, excuses like, he couldn't come and pick her up because he was busy. It isn't a nice thing to hear. If you decide about things that concern me together, just like you did in the past without fighting, I don't want to know who supported what I wanted. And here's here, and then we're coming to the last page for Despina. It says, if you follow the same rules at both houses, different rules confuse me. If you stop making fun of a gift that the other has given me, or telling me that it wasn't that expensive, it doesn't matter to me whether it was cheap or expensive. The only thing that matters to me is that you're thinking about me. If you stop arguing about whom I will spend the holidays or my birthday wish with, what would definitely be ideal for me is to spend holidays and my birthday with both of you. And I want you to know that I don't have any problem meeting other people that happen to be in your life, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to like them or not. But they can be part of my family too, as long as they love me. Irene, your daughter. Such a great book, Despina.
Thank you, Justine. You read it so well.
I love it. All right,
You're gonna read your book now, Justine?
All right, I'm gonna do just a little bit of each because I think it's important on both sides.
Yep.
So the first is a sequel. So the first one that you would want to read to your child is Our Family Broke. And the very first thing it says is, when reading with children, it would be best not to identify characters with actual family members. There are questions at the end of this book that will help you understand how and why your children feel. And that's very important. We don't want finger pointing with a book like this. We're twin otters. I'm Jessie and I'm Jules. We have the same problem, but feel differently about it. Jessie stutters. I'm so sad. I have a lump in my throat and my tummy feels yucky and I'm trying not to cry. I don't want anyone to see me cry. I just feel really tired and want to hide. Jules says, I'm very angry. My face feels hot and turns red. I want to yell and smash things. What happened to Jules and Jessie that they feel so unhappy? Jessie says, our parents are Popper and Rory. We lived in the water for a long time in kelp forest, which is a lot like tall seaweed. Jules adds, we had lots of love, friends, and played all day together. Jessie continues, during the day, Popper and Rory would groom us often. They taught us to fish, swim, crack mussels on rocks, protected us from drowning, and kept us away from hunters on boats. Popper was funny because rocks could be cracked on his tummy, and Popper made silly sounds that everyone liked to hear. At night, we all had held paws to make a raft, and the waves could not separate our family while we slept, so we would stay safe. We loved our life, Jules reminisces. And otters truly do make rafts at night. It can be from 2 to thousands. So they stay together. As we grew up, Jules continues, Popper and Rory started to argue. They were loud and they wouldn't share fish with each other. We felt scared and hid. Then suddenly, Rory swam very fast away from Popper and forced us out of kelp forest, explained Jules. Jessie had begged Rory, please, can we stay at kelp forest? You don't need to hold Popper's paw as part of our raft. Please stay in kelp forest. Rory didn't listen or care about Jessie, Jules, or Popper's feelings. Rory made us swim for 4 hours to an unfamiliar place called Long Seaweed. We were very far from kelp forest and we missed Popper even more. Our hearts were broken, cried Jules. So I'll stop there with this book and I'll let you read the rest of it. Popper's 10 Lost Years. This is a very important book because the children need to know that the alienated or targeted parent has feelings. And again, when reading with children, it would be best not to identify illustrated characters with actual family members. The kids are going to figure it out. How can Rory love Popper and then just hate Popper? Jessie asked Jules. They both felt confused. Jules said they stopped shooting fish and were very loud, yelling at each other. One time Rory said Popper took one fish, but then another time Rory said Popper took lots of fish. Only one of those can be true. I felt lied to, Jules continued. I thought Rory loved me, but she left Popper, and then you, and then me. But that wasn't the only thing I am confused about. Jessie listened to Jules. Why did Rory say bad things to us about Popper? Why did Rory seem to act like a victim? Was it to control us or other otters? And why didn't Rory take responsibility for bad decisions and bad consequences that followed? And why didn't Rory notice we were heartbroken and help us? Jessie and Jules felt confused. Then Jessie asked, how did Popper feel being away from us for 10 years? So here's the little otters, and they're just thinking, they've got their question marks and their broken heart. And this is where it gets very important about the alienated parent. One day, Popper's lifelong friend Vince came to visit. Jules and Jessie immediately recognized Vince and swam fast to hold paws together. I want to talk to you both about something very important. Popper cried a lot. Popper felt very alone. Popper worried about you both the entire time you were away from Popper, Vince said to Jules and Jessie. But we were with Rory and we were doing all the same things we always did. It's just our hearts were broken. And it seemed that none of the grown-ups even understood that we had feelings, sighed Jules. Jessie continued, Vince, do you think Popper's feelings were like ours? Did Popper feel very sad like I was? Did Popper feel very angry like I did? Asked Jules. Vince's head bent down and said, let me tell you everything. Jessie and Jules listened to Vince very curiously. Popper cried for weeks afterwards. Popper felt alone in Kelp Forest without you two. Jules and Jessie, you are so important and loved by Popper. Popper said his heart was not like Rory. Popper's love for you would not change instantly from love to hate. Rory grabbed both of you and left Popper alone, remember? Asked Vince. Jules and Jessie nodded their heads in agreement. Both remembered that horrible day. So you can see how it's a sequel referring back to the original story. Then I moved in with Popper, Vince said. We both hoped you two were okay. We thought Rory was taking good care of you. Vince explained that Popper shouldn't have been alone. Popper felt so angry sometimes that Popper threw rocks and swam as low in the ocean and reached the bottom and then came up trying to breathe. Popper's face was beet red. Popper was not able to hold in feelings. I stayed with Popper and let Popper cry and talk to me about feelings. So an alienated parent definitely needs support. Popper felt sad and angry like we did, asked Jules. Vince nodded yes and said, Popper was so angry that everything in Kelp Forest was given away or thrown out, and no one else stayed with Popper except me. What did you and Popper do all day? Asked Jessie hesitantly. Vince looked into Jessie's teary eyes and said, we sometimes made funny sounds together and tried to help other otters, but suddenly Popper would just burst out crying. I patted Popper on the back, but we sometimes swam near the hunters' boats because the fish were easier to catch and eat. Jules quickly yelled, but that is dangerous. I was so angry I did that also. And I'll stop right there. So those are the first and second for the otter stories. Thank you for allowing me to read that.
Thank you, Justine. That was excellent. So we're approaching the part of our Zoom call where we're going to take comments or questions from the audience. And I just want to read one comment from RLD. She says, she was cautioned to say nothing in her defense by a therapist, but that is much easier said than done. And I guess that means to the children, don't say anything. Do you have any comments about that?
I definitely do. Despina, would you like to speak first?
Yes, it's very important to try not to say something to the kids, because actually it's difficult from the kids when they hear bad things for both parents. For example, in my case and from my story, I was feeling bad every time that they were accusing each other. Even now, I want to, I know that they were doing the best they could. Both of them. I mean, even for my mom, that she left me, she didn't help me to have a relationship with my dad for many years. I am sure that she was trying to do what she could do, because her emotions were very intense and she couldn't handle them. so it would be much easier for me if they haven't said anything in front of me. But I understand the point that it's very difficult because I can, I mean, I am a parent, and I understand sometimes, and I remember my mom, how frustrated she was. And she wanted to, to say things, to express herself, because otherwise she couldn't, she couldn't do something different. It was very, very hard for her not to say anything.
Well, I think that that the therapists say that you can't say anything at all. And I don't know if that's if there's a lot of ignorance in the establishment and professionals. There are people in the establishment trying to discredit parental alienation and shared parenting because well, they just don't agree, and they're spreading a lot of misinformation because an adversarial system and a high conflict divorce is very profitable, right? You have this custody battles and all this stuff. It makes a lot of money. So there are certain shrill minority lobby groups that are spreading misinformation. And so I think I know they're threatening psychologists and psychiatrists that even treat this, or so I'm wondering if there is, if saying nothing is actually correct, because there are some things that you can say, but it has to be said in a moderated, like in an appropriate type of way. So like you can support the child's feelings, but so you can, the book should be like a child appropriate. That's not saying nothing. I mean, that's saying something if you're giving them a book, right? Or you're still communicating something, right?
Excuse me, Monique, somebody's
Yeah, I'll just put everybody on mute.
Mute.
Yes.
I want to hear what you're saying, and I can't.
Yes, me too.
Let's see if I can mute this person. Brandy, can you go on mute? I've been trying to.
It works.
Been trying to mute. Why is the button not working?
I'm gonna make a promise to everybody at home. We're gonna get to the next level in this video if they keep watching. Are you serious? I'm doing it.
Brandy, can you mute yourself? Thank you. So I was saying that there's like child appropriate ways to communicate. So I don't know. I think that there's some like misinformation from professionals. Like there's a lot of people that deny PA and say it does not exist. And so they will instruct professional psychologists or family mediators to like, they just say that this is like pseudo junk science because they're protecting an industry, right? Where that's worth billions of dollars for high conflict divorce is what I'm saying. So they have a conflict of interest, a financial conflict of interest to protect their industry. And so they're penetrating the establishment. This is more adult issues, but I'm saying that that if psychiatrists and therapists say that you can't say anything at all about parental alienation to the child, they may be scared of these lobby groups or some sort of reason. So I think that there are like child appropriate ways to discuss this with the child that, but saying nothing at all, I don't know if that's correct. That's all I had to say about that.
Respond, Monique.
Sorry, what I couldn't hear you, Justine.
Oh, may I respond to that, Monique?
Sure.
Okay. So what has happened with the book series that I've created is my social worker has actually bought them and he's using them with families. And it's because it's so gently done with the
child appropriate.
Yeah, it's age appropriate for little ones, and they're smart, they catch right on, but at the same time nobody's being bashed, there's just a lot of questions.
Yeah, and I love the coloring book for young children because there's no like words that betray the child to the alienating child, and they can just take the coloring book and they know the story from the target parent's house, and then they can bring their coloring book, and then they still remember the story perfectly, and they can color.
It has like little secret codes, and
yeah,
there's a page on how to draw otters. There's little recipes that kids could do, spot the differences, but this is like the kind of thing that when the child brings it home to the parent that is alienating the other, the children will remember, we have another parent that loves us very, very much. There's jokes in here. This is an important page I did not mention.
Okay.
There's a feelings page, and it's basically feelings, happy, sad, angry, or another feeling. Today is Monday. I feel sad. Now there's an opportunity to speak because the alienating parent still loves their child. So it allows their child to express themselves. And there's 3 pages of those.
Okay.
And can I add something, Monique?
Sure.
The phrase "don't say anything," it's for both parents. I mean, it's not that the one parent can say anything he wants and the other parent say nothing. When I said that it's better if you don't say anything, it's for both parents, that they don't. It's better if they don't accuse each other. If one parent start doing this, of course, also the other parent want to defend himself, and at some point maybe they want to make the children also understand why, for example, they can't see their dad so many times. Of course they want to defend themselves. So yes, it must be a way to explain to them what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And also considering the point that I don't know, the RLD, that she wrote something in the chat about that because she said that it's better to say nothing or to allow her to think that I am a dangerous person.
Yep.
Because from my story, also my dad was feeling that he was the bad guy, and he was trying to explain some things to us, and I wouldn't listen when I was young, because actually I was feeling that I want to defend my mom. And I was living with her, so her voice was louder in my head. However, when I grew up, I realized that both of them made mistakes, and also the way that my mom was approaching everything was wrong. And it was actually their feelings that created all this problem. And my dad never abandoned me and never hated me, and I actually didn't hate my dad. So even when I was saying that I hate him, I didn't really believe it. I just wanted to satisfy the other parent. So my point is actually that many times kids say things just to satisfy the other parent, and they don't really believe them.
Do you agree with that, Justine, that they just try to satisfy the alienating parent and they don't actually believe?
Yeah, the way I was told, it's like a Stockholm syndrome, where you have to like snuggle up to one because it's a survival technique. And that's a horrible place for a child who their brains are just forming. They're just now understanding their world, and trying to form social structures in school, church, community, and it's just ripped apart. So absolutely.
Yeah. I'll just read some of the comments here. Yeah, so yeah, we were told that defending ourselves would put the child into the conflict. But like I said, I think that there are child appropriate ways to communicate some information, and that saying nothing at all, when the child makes the child feel even more unsafe and terrified, that they feel adultified. They have to start figuring this out completely on their own with no help from any parent at all. So I would say, I think that there are child appropriate ways. And that's why we did this interview. We did the book readings, because I think that these books are undervalued. And I just wanted to give more of a platform to that. In our case, we didn't counterattack. We just wanted to say, oh, wait, we didn't do that. I don't know if there are, like I said, you don't necessarily, I think being defensive, it's a hard skill, because, we're not, the mainstream isn't teaching the target parent. They're not helping them. They're not providing mental health support. They're basically enabling the alienating parent in our establishment right now. And so part of what we're doing at PACT is we teach the approach and withdraw method. We are trying to actively teach parenting and give them skills, like a toolbox that they can use. So we are trying to help at PAC with that, with giving parenting skills, because it's very normal feeling to want to defend yourself, I think, as a target parent. But like, if no one's teaching you the skills, no one's supporting you and giving you some information and helping you deal with your trauma, then it can be very overwhelming. And that's where I struggle. Is it better to say nothing, or to allow her to think that I'm a dangerous person? I'm this, I'm that. So yeah, we talked about child appropriate. She says she has no mic on her computer, and I think she says, I think that's what I'm really interested in, to find a child appropriate way to address some of this, hence my interest in the books. Yeah, that's why we're doing this today, because the books are child appropriate. In our case, the child has a therapist. I've considered buying the books and sharing them with the therapist as well. I would really like to see these books in elementary schools. I think it would be great if we could convince people to at some point to start putting these in elementary schools. So the kids if they go to school, they have a safe place where they can read. And that would be great.
This will be great, Monique. And the best thing is to read them without both parents. I mean, if they read them at school, it's a safer place for them.
Yeah, like get everybody else out of their head, and then just have a safe space where they can think for themselves. And develop on their own and start having their own thoughts. And like this is terrible abuse, it's child abuse. And, and the establishment is quite ignorant about this and the damage this is causing, the long-term damage. And we heard from Justine today about all her, like, that's this, the repression and how it's having an impact on her physically. She's had all these surgeries from this, it's coming out of her body, the stress from this and the PTSD, right? The long-term. But yeah, so RL says, I've learned a lot of it, really helpful information. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming. You guys are troopers. This is a topic that is undervalued. And so I really appreciate you guys showing up today and participating in the discussion. And we've had a good reading, and I think we had a really good discussion. And I hope you can go out and advocate for children's books on the subject, and educate more people about the value of this and putting this in safe places like in schools or public libraries for children. They can go into the children's section and pull out a book and read, and then also have more informed adults that they can offer these books to children and suggest them if they notice some symptoms of parental alienation, that they might want to just just pass the book on to the child. I mean, and this is child appropriate, so you can give them the book. And it's fine. It's safe. It's appropriate for them to read about this. So,
Monique, I want to mention my series is on Amazon. You can look it up by the book name, or you can look it up by my name.
Okay. You want to put all the links in the chat? I actually put both your book links in. I think I only for Justine, I only put our family book. But if you want to post the other ones,
okay.
And I think we could actually post. I'll send out links afterwards to the Eventbrite attendees with the links of it too. Maybe you can just send it to me afterwards, and then I'll put it. You don't have to put it in the chat now, but we'll just send it out and make that available in an email from that.
You have mine, Monique. You just put
it's really easy. Yeah, I've read both your books, and I'm giving them I'm donating them to the Canadian Centre for Men and Families in Canada. And so that'll be at the men's center, because there's a lot of target dads there, and they have a men's center for, and then because it'd be good if more dads were aware of these books too, that they could give it to their kids. Like sometimes they have some situations where they can visit with their kids, and then if they can I think reading to their kids would be a good like child appropriate way to explain what's going on without attacking mom or getting into adult discussions. They can just read to their child from the book and talk about feelings, about how they feel in the book.
Yes, for me, I mean, I hope when the parents read the book together with the kids, they understand that maybe they recognize actually same behaviors, so maybe they change them.
Like if you're not a perfect parent, I mean, this is very hard to be a target parent, and I'm certainly not attacking any of the target parents. The PAC group is there to help with the trauma and the PTSD and also give parenting tips. So it's all a learning curve, and nobody's teaching this. So it's definitely not an attack on parents. It's just to help you learn. And that's why we're talking about the kids' books. It's just to help you with your parenting and help
the kids' perspective, actually.
Yeah, the kid's perspective. It's not an attack on your parenting. And we are very sympathetic to what it feels like to be a target parent. It's very overwhelming in the PTSD, and it's hard to think. and so, and there's no instruction, like I said, from the establishment or mainstream, like there's no proper instruction on how to be a parent in this situation. So we're just doing this to help you, and it's not an attack on you or on your parenting at all. Yeah. As a suggestion, the kids' books. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Well, that was pretty long today, and that was a pretty heavy topic. So why don't we cut it off for today, the recording? And I just want to say thank you so much to both of you for doing this with us, and I'd like to do it again. And I'm going to be editing out some of the short clips from the readings and I'll post it on the PAC chat, PAC on YouTube. Thank you for letting me record. And yeah, so it was a lot of information. It's pretty heavy, emotional topic. So I think we'll cut it off for today, if that's okay. Okay, thank you both for joining us.
You.
Yes.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Appreciate
Have
the
a good day.
platform.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye now.